Hey, Salvador Briggman, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Thank you for listening and tuning in to this show. I also produce a version of the show, some of my older episodes on YouTube, my YouTube channel. You can search my name, Salvador Briggman. It will come up there. Got some great stuff in the works as well, coming to the YouTube channel when it comes to topics like prototyping and designing a product, as well as some other topics like equity crowdfunding, Kickstarter, Indiegogo, etc. On this show, I really like to get into the nitty gritty when it comes to how to raise money successfully from the crowd. I really try to tell it as it is, to debunk all of the myths that are out there, to take these people who are like academics and professionals who are telling you all this kind of stuff, like that you got to do this, you got to do that, you got to do click-throughs, you got to, send traffic. And I try to break it down just really easily, nuts and bolts. What do you really need to focus on? Because there is so much you can, right, with a Kickstarter campaign. Today, I brought on a successful Kickstarter campaigner who has knocked it out of the park with his project. He gets a lot into how he's able to execute on this, how he's able to build a team, the leadership behind it, as well as the tactics that worked for him when he was live with his project. Now, some of the cool stuff that we have in the works for this podcast are, number one, lots of more interesting interviews that are coming out in the next couple of weeks. Got some cool stuff when it comes to the people that are coming on. I just had a Shark Tank episode. I want to do some more of those types of shows. I think it's really interesting, a new way to get the word out there about your product. One of the other quick things I want to say before we hop into today's episode is that when it comes to designing and creating a product and really spreading the word, I really think there's this dearth or this lack of knowledge, right? There's this lack of focus and understanding of how to make a product, how to design it well, and really after that fact, market it, launch it on Kickstarter, get a bunch of funding for it, go into e-commerce. That's really my vision for you. If you're struggling in the beginning portion of that phase, I want to put out a few more bits of content on that because I don't think there's enough light that's been shed on that part of the crowdfunding process. It's like, how do you even design a product, come up with a good product idea, get the good manufacturer, supply chain, figure out logistics of it. This is something that's like not super fun to think about necessarily, but can really make or break the profitability of your online store and your e-commerce business as a whole. And even if you're trying to do something more creative with Kickstarter, right, it's still going to play a component, is the actual fulfillment of your rewards. So if you go back into the archives of my podcast, I have so many shows on marketing, on tactics, on how to get a bunch of funding. So I just want to add every once in a while another episode I think that's going to kind of shed more light on the beginning stages of getting a product made and designed and really getting it out there. And I think that the more we can focus on that, we can also draw some interesting results and findings from other entrepreneurs who are doing it and are killing it. So you learn like, okay, if I want to get a really high quality product made, this is how I can go about it. And then I can launch a killer Kickstarter campaign for that. I can blow it out of the park. I can get a bunch of traffic and credibility and media mentions through Kickstarter or Indiegogo, or if you want to go to the equity crowdfunding route on a platform like Start Engine or WeFunder, right? And then from there, grow and build your business with a great set of values, with people that, service providers that you like working with. That's my vision for you. And that's really when I first started writing the book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula, what I want to do is to give you all of this knowledge. And I'm realizing that, I think I gotta do something within this product development stage because there just isn't enough good education, and it's starting to agitate me. Whenever I get a little bit agitated, it's like, I know I got to do something about this someday. So that might come out at some point this year. But thank you so much for listening so far. I really have a great interview when it comes to the Axium Kickstarter campaign. This is a bunch of funding that this guy got, lots of backers. It's coming up right after this. This podcast episode is sponsored by The Gadget Flow. The Gadget Flow reaches over 28 million people, and they've been around since 2012. They are Indiegogo and Kickstarter experts. They featured over 5,000 crowdfunding campaigns, and if you have a technology or design campaign, it is a great platform to generate awareness and get backers. You can check them out at thegadgetflow.com/submit and list your project today. Hey guys, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Today we are privileged to have a Kickstarter success on the line. A man who's developed an entirely new fitness at-home workout product. He's really taken it from A to Z with this campaign, and now he's going to be entering in demand very soon. Shortly, I'm talking with Mike, the founder of Axium. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, how are you doing?
Good, man.
Good.
Whereabouts are you hailing in from?
Near London, actually Windsor, which is near London in UK.
Very cool, very cool. So I know that this product that you came out with really can help a lot of people during COVID, can help a lot of people that want to get toned and fit. Do you think you can kind of start by just describing what the product is and who it's for?
It's basically a piece of home fitness equipment I've designed. It was originally designed actually for myself to get through COVID with limited resources to train. So it's a really simple to use. It's called the Axium pole. It's a singular pole that fits into a door frame, and you can do a multitude of exercises using the resistance bands on it, which is becoming very popular now. But as I found when I first started using resistance bands, they were quite limited due to the angles that you can work. So, hence the Axiom pole becoming a product now rather than just something that I was using for home.
Definitely. And when it came to the product, this is the first product you've made. Have you made ones before?
No, never made anything. This is a very, very new experience.
How did you even go from getting this from an idea that you had in your head to then a full-fledged product with people buying it around the world?
Do you know what, Sal? It's been crazy. I mean, obviously, we know the story. It's been a very crazy story. It literally was as crazy as lockdown come in the UK. I've been used to going to the gym for sort of like, well, it must be over 10 years now. And it came, and all of a sudden there was no dumbbells available, nothing, no equipment available. And I think I sort of done what a lot of people done, was jump online, buy as many sort of cool looking home fitness equipment, things for sale. And in all fairness, it just led to disappointment. So I found my training very limited, very hard to sort of like keep that motivation up. The best thing I was finding was the resistance bands, but again, I found them quite limited. So that led me to start looking at designing something to make it usable. I mean, I actually was one of the few, it was almost like a gym fail, to be honest, Sal. I had a resistance band door anchor snap on me. So
Oh, geez.
I was lucky not to get whipped by it.
Yeah, that would
So,
not be good. So it
yes,
sounds like it kind of came out of a frustration of you trying these other products and them just not being made of very good quality materials, right? And then
yeah.
deciding to kind of make your own.
I think the problem is most pieces of home fitness equipment, as I found through now buying most of them, was nothing was up to like a gym product standard. It would certainly be nothing that you would find in the gym, nothing that could take a load, nothing that had any sort of any quality to it, shall we say. So everything was quite brittle, or you would question how much load you can put on it. And for me, if you have to start thinking about that whilst you're training, your motivation levels is just going to dip. You're going to hold back. Whereas I'm very much get in the zone and
All or
push.
nothing, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how we're
Well,
there.
yeah, I think it makes sense because with gym products, obviously they're made for durability and wear and tear because they have to last for a long time, right, to service
Yeah.
the gym. So I can see that comparison. Still, man, like there are a lot of people who have ideas, right, and have a great idea for a new product, but they don't execute nearly as fast as you were able to. How is that possible? Like, do you have a background in design, or how did you even create this thing?
Do you know what it was? I think I've spent years in. I mean, I'm a heating and mechanical engineer by trade. I've always been in the construction industry since probably sort of 16 years old. So yeah, about 24 years. So I've always had a very technical mind. It kind of suited, especially for trying to make a home fitness product, because homes is what I do. So taking what my passion from the gym and making it into a home fitness product, the idea came very naturally, to be honest. But do you know what, Sal? Most of it was almost like boredom. I'd gone from working so many hours for so many years and not really having a break to all of a sudden, like I shut my construction sites down for a couple of months, and it was almost boredom. I decided to teach myself CAD drawing. So I went out and bought an iPad and taught myself CAD, which then just led to designing so much more, which led me to wanting to pursue it.
Yeah, that's super exciting, and obviously drawing on your previous building experience. I think construction, and I think really needing like exact measurements and a lot of care, right, that
Yeah.
goes with putting together a home. So it sounds like you took a lot of those things. I know when you're talking about the product, like you're really nitty gritty on the details, right? Like
Yeah.
almost obsessively, I would say.
It's yeah. I know it's gone a bit crazy now, isn't it?
But I think that's a very important trait, right? Because it makes sure that when you are mass producing this thing, you're not going to have those kind of quality issues if you're not attentive to detail.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've taken my sort of my same theory in how I run my building company. Really, is like you get a lot of building and construction companies that tend to do the builds as quick as they can, and they have what like everyone likes to call a snag list, where the client will then go through with a piece of paper and they find all the faults. I find that counterproductive. And I see that in the same in producing a product. Like if you're going to produce a product, why not get it right to start with? So we've tried and tested and hammered this because we wanted to know that it was going to not only last, it was going to hold up to people that did want to train really hard on it, and including myself.
Yeah, definitely. And I want to talk a little bit about like crowdfunding and Kickstarter, because a lot of other people might decide to go more e-commerce or try to find a wholesaler, or even, take the idea and sell it for royalties, right? And to get a really big fitness company on board. Why did you want to, build your own brand behind it?
I mean, like I say, I think it's more down to the passion I've had for training, probably for the last sort of like 10 years or so, and I've always wanted to do something towards fitness. I mean, I've always been quite creative. Like I've designed a few things before years ago, and I've just never followed them through. And there were things to do with the building industry, and whereas the fitness industry, like because it's being my hobby, I don't know. It just come from nowhere, and it really went so fast. But I would say if you're gonna go to the trouble and designing something yourself, I would always probably say to someone, keep it, don't sell it, because there's so much more and so much more fun you can have with it, especially through the experience we've had, especially between me and you, Sal, up till now. Is like it's been a crazy journey, and if we were to have just taken that product and sold it on, yes, we would have profited, but it's the growth after that we see now. We see the other accessories coming out, the other products coming out, and it's crazy, it's fun, it's really fun.
Yeah, one of the things that really stood out to me as I've been noticing you as a business owner is the fact that you're able to really network with very high level people, right? So like, Tom Coleman, guy with 1 million followers, right, on Instagram, a bunch of other people that now are involved in the project that are helping out. How did you go out there and how did you build these relationships in order to kind of elevate the brand a bit?
Do you know what? It was kind of how me and you first met, Sal. It was almost like I didn't really go out say with the hey, I'm so and so from a brand that's going to be this. I went out with the original story. It was like it was very much like, hey Tom, I've come up with a crazy idea. I've done this and designed it for home workouts at home. Would you want to get involved? And I told him about the whole story and the lead up to it. And I think the curiosity of all these guys, as soon as they'd heard it, they couldn't help to want to get in, to actually speak to me and then get involved, because it is so fast. I mean, a year ago, this was nothing more than it wasn't even an idea, was it, Sal, a year ago? So I think everyone was sort of very, very curious of how it had come about, why it had come about, a little bit more about me. I think everyone thought I was crazy, the fact that I've gone from 10 months of having no product to releasing a product globally. So it was probably about a bit of curiosity and wanting to see the crazy man behind it.
Yeah. I mean, if I'm outside listening in and I'm listening to you talk, and this guy, has been able to get a fitness influencer with millions of followers on board, like I'm like, wow, how did he do that? Did you just like shoot him a DM? Did you shoot him an email?
Yeah.
How'd you get in contact?
I literally DM'd him on Instagram. I'd followed him for probably the best part of the 10 years that I've been into the training, and liked him as a person, thought he was a genuine guy, and I literally dropped him a DM.
That's crazy.
So insane.
Yeah, I think it just speaks to the proactivity, right? And just being willing to put yourself out there and being willing to tell your story to a degree.
Yeah. Do you know what's funny? It was I didn't shoot out loads of messages to lots of people either. He sort of come to mind first of all because I liked his knowledge behind the training. He'd sort of like been to the higher end and pushed himself through competition. So he's really got some knowledge, and he's happy to share it. And I think he was the only one that really come to mind. He was the only person, Sal, I actually messaged to see if he wanted to get involved. So it was crazy when he was up for it, and we met up, and again it just spiraled really quickly. It's like been on a roller coaster, and
Yeah,
we've
it's
just
been on fire. I mean, that's awesome. One of the other questions I had for you is, I love your approach to naming. Is that something that you do yourself? Do you have companies that help you come up with names of products, or how do you come up with that name?
No, do you know what? It was the name. It took some work. I'm not going to lie. I mean, I've always done the naming. I had my construction industry. I named myself, and it was on the actual gym product was going to be called after my construction company, was Titan. Up to about 3 days before we started registering everything to get the patterns, I'd been advised that Titan was so overly used in the gym industry that we needed to change it. And it was a panic. It went to panic stations. And I actually found Axiom because it's a plural name for an axis, which is exactly what you're going to work out on. You work out off an axis with this pole. So it fitted. It was gender neutral. Do you know what? It grew on me so fast. I knew it was the name that we were going to stick with.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. And I think it also kind of communicates a lot of that like strength and power and like axiom, right? So
Yeah.
it's really cool. So you kind of just like brainstormed, I guess, and came up with a name and was thinking about the message as well behind it.
Yeah, started thinking about the message. I was looking at names of meaning. Like I didn't want to just come up with anything random. So yeah, we even my girlfriend got involved. We really got some names on the table onto paper and started looking at the meanings behind them, and that stuck out. That really stuck out.
Very cool. Well, just a flash forward, through the story a little bit, where you're now starting to get involved with doing a pre-launch, right, for a Kickstarter campaign. You've decided that you wanted to go that route. This is the first time when your idea really has contact with people beyond just, hitting up an influencer or your girlfriend or some people that you
Yeah.
know, and you're really getting strangers, right, to give you
Yeah.
feedback and thoughts. What did that feel like?
Crazy. I mean, I'm not a massive person with social media, so the response was insane. The amount of messages that we were getting, wanting to know where they could get it, and it was from all over the world. So it was crazy. I almost couldn't comprehend how quickly it would all start moving, and how many people would want to get involved in it. It was, yeah, I found the whole thing crazy. Still am.
It's really inspirational too as well. I mean, I think the thing about putting yourself out there publicly is you're going to get a wide spectrum of people, right? So some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it, some people are going to nitpick, right? But in
Yeah.
general, there was such a positive reaction to Axiom poll that it
Yeah.
blew me away. I think it's really positive. And as well the community that you have there now, people doing their workouts, like it's inspirational.
It's insane, insane. I can't believe the amount of I mean, like you said, we've had some people who have asked questions. There's been some great questions, great chats we've been having with people who are interested. And I mean, I've had personal phone calls with people that have actually invested and bought the Axiom pole, and it's been brilliant. It's been like beyond the breath of fresh air, to be honest. These people are so excited to get the product and be involved in it. It's just lifted me to like another level, just ready to just keep pushing and pushing and pushing with it.
Yeah, and I know there's this other vision that you have as well, which is involving the community more than other companies that are out there, right? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, I've always seen it as that most of us go and buy a piece of fitness equipment, especially at home, and it's kind of they'll give you the first bit, but not the rest of it to keep pushing through. And the hardest bit about working out, especially at home, is once you've started to keep pushing yourself further and further. And I found a lot of companies out there, you get given a very small amount of information to sort of push yourself, and it always dies out. You have great intentions to start with, but as you start running out of the information to keep pushing you, your motivation to keep pushing is gone then. And what I've always loved is the thought of getting the community involved, and if they want to get involved on the next product and how we design the next product, or if they've got ideas on what would suit them in training. I love that. I think it's a brilliant idea. Like Nike let us choose the color of the soles and the designs and the trainers. I mean, what a brilliant idea to have that in a piece of home fitness equipment. If we can all get involved and build the ultimate piece of equipment that's personally for us.
I think too, when it comes to Kickstarter, this is such a a novel portion of the product creation. It's not like Amazon where they're just buying it and they get it in 2 days, right? You're really kind
Yeah,
of co-creating the experience, right, with
yeah,
the backer.
yeah. I
And the
mean,
more they feel involved, obviously, the better it's going to be in the long run as well.
yeah, yeah. I definitely. I think it's been great. It's been a great experience. I'd never heard of Kickstarter until obviously me and you had spoken, and it was very. It come from nowhere, the Kickstarter idea. And yeah, the experience has been great. The fact that you sort of got everyone on board looking at it before the product's even there, it's yeah, it's brilliant.
Are you looking for help with the fulfillment side of your rewards on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or any other crowdfunding website? Fulfillment is literally the gold standard when it comes to crowdfunding reward fulfillment. These guys will help you ship out your products, your packages, your orders to all of your customers and your backers. They've been working in this industry for a really long time. I totally vouch for their services, and they'll even do things like answer simple questions for you on fulfillment and shipping and figuring out how to get your products into the hands of your customers in the easiest way possible. If you're interested in learning more about them, you can go to fulfillright.com or crowdcrux.com/fulfillright, and that will take you to them. Again, that is FULFILLRITE.com. Now, I want to talk about, when it comes to like, we think a lot of the times launching a product is kind of like a rocket ship, right? Where it starts with a launch pad, it goes up, it hits this stage, it goes out, and it's very like linear, very predictable. But in reality, there are stumbling blocks, there are obstacles, there are things you have to go through. What's one thing that you've learned throughout this Kickstarter journey that you wish you knew a little bit earlier?
Be more prepared. Plan to use most of your life up. It definitely has taken a lot more attention of my time. Yeah, it's a lot tougher, and it's great, but it's a lot tougher than what you would imagine.
And in terms of preparation, do you mean preparation in terms of like getting more video, getting more imagery, having a bigger community? What do you think in terms of preparation there?
I think it was probably, do you know, I think it's a bit of both. I think what you forget when you're the owner of the product and the person that sort of designed it and created it. I think what you forget is you don't realize until you've digested it all that 99% of it is only relative to your mind. So it's to make sure that you're getting everything across and getting everything across clearly, so you can almost avoid the bombarding of questions maybe throughout the campaign. I think you could probably eliminate most of them and make the campaign run smoother and probably faster. So I would probably say to anyone that's looking at doing one is to make sure that you've prepared and then prepared again. I think that would be one thing that I would take as a lesson learned. I felt like I thought I'd prepared, but until you've done the experience, you don't realize how little that maybe you have.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And kind of there's that saying of like having a curse of knowledge, which is when you're so engrossed in something, you know so much about it, you sometimes forget how like beginners will look at it or who have never been exposed to this kind of a product right before, how they're going to see it and like the questions they're going to have.
Yeah, yeah. And I would say, yeah, we definitely experienced that. I think there was things that we had to adjust along the way. And in hindsight, now we look back, we realise that they probably should have been questions that we should have already had answered for ourselves and for them. So yeah, it's definitely a tricky one there.
When it comes to getting a good video for the project, how were you able to get that done? Did you do it yourself? Did you hire someone to help you get the video? Like, what did that look like?
One thing we were lucky with is Tom's contacts in the industry, where he's so used to photo shoots and so used to filming that he recommended someone, and that was a very, very smooth process thanks to Tom. So he'd suggested a photographer, he'd suggested a videographer, and they were both great guys, very easy to work with. So that was a very fun and easy part, actually, the filming. We'd already had an idea in mind how we wanted to put it across. Do you know, one thing I would say to anyone that's looking at doing a campaign and doing ads is probably make sure that you don't put yourself in a narrow or a narrow target or a narrow in a box that you're aiming at a certain target. Because I don't think you know your audience until you've started running with it. I would probably say appeal to as many audiences as possible. So I think if I run it again, I would probably do 3 different ads.
With different environments and such, you
Different
mean?
environments, yeah, for people to relate to a bit better. But yeah, everything's a learning curve.
I think when it came to the ads as well, some of the best performing ones were just like a side by side comparison of what you can do in the gym and what you can do with the Axiom pole, right? So a
Yeah.
lot of your footage worked super well, and I think a lot of the difficulty is like when you're doing a campaign over the course of 60 days, or more. It's like always keeping the fresh approach. It's a lot of work to get
Yeah.
content.
It is a lot of work. Well, for what seems like a lot of content, suddenly isn't. You suddenly think you've got bundles in your Dropbox, and all of a sudden that's used up very, very fast. And I think what we found difficult, it was once you've started that, even for 60 days, you've suddenly got a very small window to make adjustments, and as for getting new content, especially in the COVID climate, is very, very difficult. So it wasn't a case of quickly getting a videographer and reshooting some things or adding some things. It was it ran dry. That was probably the only thing I would say I wish I'd done differently, is probably twice, like doubled or 3 times the amount of content that we had, because you can use it so fast.
One of the other things I noticed is that throughout this process, you've also been approached by people who want to invest in the company. You've been approached by people who want to wholesale and like sell your products in Japan, right? You've been approached by a lot of people just by putting yourself out there in this way.
That has been absolutely almost humbling and overwhelming. You just to go from something that was a personal idea to companies asking for a wholesale opportunity, or it's been insane. I mean, we've had UK companies ask now to wholesale. Like you said, Japanese company. Absolutely crazy.
And it really makes you think as well, like about the entire approach. The more that you get down and to understand how to create a product, you then begin to also refine things like the supply chain, right? Where you're doing
Yeah.
manufacturing, where you're sourcing materials from, and it's this whole like iterative process. I kind of think of
Yeah.
it that way.
Yeah, and you know what, bringing them all together is has been difficult, because it's finding the right people to do the right thing, say perfectly. Because um, even from the vinyls that go onto the poles, and the way that they're finished, but then you've got the manufacturing side to even get them to that point. So there's a lot involved. I must admit, even though I've been in the construction and engineering industry for a long time, it still did shock me on how much there was to do, and even now how much there still is to do.
When it comes to the management and the leadership side of the equation, I think you have a really good track record of bringing together a strong team of people. Is that something you learned over time? Did you read books on that? Like, how did you figure that out?
Do you know what I think, Sal? I really did get there by by doing what I'm doing. Really, is starting from a small business, a construction company. I mean, I started off on my own, Sal. Then I had 1 employee, 2 employees, and the next thing it was me running building sites and construction sites. So I think my leadership and skills come from there. There was never any books I'd read. Um, I had to do a lot more research into launching a product, which I did do via online and through contacting yourself. But yeah, as for managing and bringing everything together, I think that's skills that I've honed from the industry that I'm in.
Do you have any advice on that front of finding quality teammates? One of the things I noticed about you like to have people who have a lot of passion, right? Maybe because it makes the process more fun. Do you have any thoughts on finding good people? What you look for?
No, do you know what? No, I would say you can normally tell anyone that that you find interested, and especially anyone that's very enthusiastic about your product. For anyone else that's out there that's looking about doing this, I would say make sure you find people that are as enthusiastic and as passionate about your product as you. If you find those people, you will soar. Like you'll have a team behind you that want to push you as much as you want to push the product.
Yeah, definitely. And it can really help as well, kind of continuing the entire momentum of the team, and like everyone is excited. And if you have an off day, then this other person is part of the project, they're really excited, so it's like it brings you up a bit in that way. I think.
And we've had some of those days. We've had some of those days where it can be a tough day, and then we've been brought up by the guys around us. So I would definitely say that's important. That's really important, because you can feel very alone when releasing a product. And if you were to not have a team around you, I think it would be a very, very different challenge.
Of all of the activities that you've been doing, from creation to marketing to directly involved in the group and doing customer support to logistics and planning, like what's been the most rewarding part for you of this entire experience?
You know what, the most rewarding part is probably actually speaking to the now pledgers of the campaign that have actually invested, and that they're now waiting for their Axiom poll to arrive. Actually getting involved with these guys and speaking to them on a personal level, and you find out so much more. And it's just been absolutely refreshing to speak to people about their fitness, about why they're doing their fitness. So I think that's probably been the most rewarding part.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I love seeing all the people getting involved in the group and posting their workouts, body weight workouts and their preps and stuff. And like that's just so freaking cool. And you're motivating people as well. I mean, I look at some of those posts and I'm like, I'm not even on that level.
Sal, I'm not on that level. I'm used to over 10 years at the gym, and some of these guys have pushed themselves so hard over the last couple of weeks. It's insane, absolutely insane. And especially one of the couples, they're both work. They're still managing to work, even though we're in lockdown in the UK, because of what they do. They've got families, and these guys are pushing. They really are pushing it, and it's inspiring. It's absolutely inspiring to what these people are doing, and I feel like privileged that we're part of their journey now. That they're now part of our group.
Mm-hmm. What do you see in your future here with Axiom? I know you have a bunch of different ideas and like stuff you want to expand. How do you see this growing over time?
I see huge things, Sal. We've got so many more products to come. Our community's building by the day. We've got guys involved now from all over the world. I really feel like in the next year or two, we're going to really stamp ourselves on the fitness industry, both at home and commercially. We've got some great things coming. I can't wait to show everyone.
Yeah, and what not a lot of people know is also Mike is recruiting a lot of teachers as well. Guys who want to help out with the community and want to share some of their teachings, how to use the pole, how to do body weight workouts. So it's coming together, and it's really exciting to see that and that growth.
Yeah, absolutely buzzing for it. And they're so great. The guys I've got are absolutely fantastic. They really are going to up the level of home fitness and fitness in general, especially with the products that we're going to be offering. And people aren't going to feel lost. We're going to give them some really exciting workouts to do. They're going to want to tune in. They really are. So
my last question for you here is, speaking to a member of the audience who maybe is just getting started in the beginning part of this journey, I love it if we could end on this note. Maybe you could impart either a final tip, a bit of advice, a word of encouragement, a warning, anything along those lines that we can sort of end the episode there. I would say that anyone that's thinking of doing something, do it. Because I think there's so many people out there that have got these ideas that never ever pursue or even think about doing it. You can. I would say to everyone, you can definitely do it, and you should. But be prepared for a tough journey, because it's certainly not easy, but it's very, very rewarding. Well said. Thanks for coming on the show, man. Really appreciate it. My pleasure. Great. Thanks, Sal. Hey, thank you for listening to this episode of the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. Again, my name is Salvador Briggman, and my role in this process is kind of to be a bit of an educator, a bit of a teacher, but also to just kind of be curious. I don't know everything that's out there when it comes to crowdfunding. And I know that's like obviously strange. If I've been learning about this for so long, I've been in the industry since 2012. It's been 8 years that I've been learning about Kickstarter and Indiegogo. And I will readily admit to you, while I do have a good handle of how it works, and I boiled all that into the Kickstarter launch formula, my audiobook, at the same time, I'm always learning along with you. Like, there are times when techniques change, when new tools emerge, when ways of going about the launch process upgrade, right? So I'm learning along with you, and I'm really trying to keep my own finger on the pulse when it comes to what's working, what's not on Kickstarter. So when we're having these interviews and these episodes, it's almost like you're a fly on the wall, and I'm talking with this person who's raised a bunch of money, and we're both gaining real world insights in terms of how to market the heck out of a campaign and a product and have a killer launch, have an explosive launch, and make sure that you get a bunch of backers, you fill your rewards, you have really happy customers around there, and it's really the foundation for your business going forward. I call it almost like a business boot camp, right? Kickstarter is like a business boot camp. Same thing for Indiegogo, which is also a killer platform. So a lot of great stuff, but if you did enjoy this episode, you want to dive a little bit deeper, a great place to get started would be my book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula. You can check that out on Amazon or on Audible. So I'll link you to the Audible version. You can go to crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. That is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter audio. Just go to that link and you'll be able to download the audio version of the Kickstarter launch formula. Hope you like it. Hope you get some value out of it. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you for listening to me on this episode. And also, I hope that you take some action this week on your project. Talk to you next time.